Yone priority is sneaking up here on the new patch. Wonder what some of these players are seeing with it, but Trundle's still a mainstay of the band, so 3 junglers off the board already.
Yeah, exactly. We're just going to take a lot of this top tier of jungle away at the very beginning of this game, and that's going to pinch onto this pool quite heavily, right? In terms of things that are now going to be left that you potentially want to be playing, the Wukong, the Jarvan, they are both very strong at the moment, as is that Xin Zhao. So you've still got a couple of very strong things, but maybe you want to go towards something a little bit different, right? We've been seeing the Nocturne, we've been seeing the Neferi floating around the edges as something a little bit more aggressive potentially, but also with that Yone ban out, maybe you want to play something AD into the mid lane. That could be fun, open up some AP junglers as well.
Well, that's the safest B1 pick outside of Varus right there for Flandre. Gonna gobble up the Scion. I think Kanavi should definitely look for a Xin Zhao turn with the Aurora. That's a really good mid-jungle pairing to get out of the red side turn. And maybe just get the Xin Zhao out of the way now. What do we need? What do you want to see from AL, though, with Flandre now going from Rumble duty to Scion duty here? It's a much different draft composition already here for AL, Bloxxer.
Yeah, that gives you a little bit extra priority right here onto getting towards Shanks and seeing if he can get something a little bit more aggressive going for himself. He has been really liking things like the Yone. That's part of why I'm surprised to see that one taken away. But yeah, he has also been really good onto the Orianna. He's also been really nice as well on the Galio. So you've still got a couple of good options. The Victor being locked in right here. Again, it's something Creme hasn't necessarily actually been able to play so well, hasn't been able to absorb as much pressure onto. I wouldn't mind something like the Talia if you want it here. Oh, not the Talia, that's been banned away. Potentially the Rise then, maybe, if you want to go pair up, follow around Tarzan. I do like that they've got the Wukong, though.
Wow. Wanting to make sure Hope gets his AD of choice. They're going to grab the Kaisa pretty early on. But that does make an Alistar lock-in a bit treacherous for TES, and unless they just commit a Sylas ban, right? So you can get rid of that. I do think you really got to make sure Shanks doesn't get Sylas, even if you do lock this Alistar in. The Cho'Gath coming across here as the immediate answer into the Scion. This is the tech as a way to kind of punish the Scion, yeah.
It does make the Scion really uncomfortable in that laning phase, and you can get super tanky alongside the Scion in the later phases of the game. I do also like that ruptures another bit of non-committal engage that you don't have to worry so much about just constantly throwing out, making it so AL feel uncomfortable stepping up potentially. But still, I do really like what AL have got for themselves early on right here. You were correct, the Sylas is going to be taken off of the board. I do think they had to. I think the Orianna could be a really good pairing right here. Wukong Orianna always works quite well, and it gives you plenty of damage alongside some extra safety with the shields, with the shockwave just buying you a little bit of extra space. Renata taken off of the board, so they are worried about having that anti-dive taken away from them.
So with this Alistar locked in, I wonder if Shanks might go, if Shanks sees an Akali angle. Because right now, TES have put a ton of 100% beef in front of this Victor. And you know JackeyLove is going to likely get a scaler that he likes as well. You know, you can think Sivir, Smolder, those two come to mind. I'm not going to say Senna, because Senna would just be 0 damage. So you've already got the makings of a dive comp. You've got the non-committal engage with the depth charge, with a Wukong and a Kaisa that wants to fly for the flanks.
Yeah.
Does Shanks want to go for a dive buddy alongside them, or does he want to get the Wombo in? I think it's Orianna, Aurora, or Akali that Shanks will lock in here.
Agreed. Those three are definitely going to be top of the priority list. I like the Orianna. I think that's the correct option right here. It gives you that little bit of extra survivability, and also it just works with that Wombo. If you wanted ball delivery systems, well, you've got a ton of them. You can even put it on top of Hope potentially if he's going to go flying in, and it is going to be that Sivir locked in. So this is an early game comp versus a much later game scaling one. TES, they want this game to last 40 minutes minimum.
We talked about how much more potent we feel like TES is 35 minutes past as a team. So to see them index a draft into it, very promising. But the scary part is that AL, even if they're a little bit, sluggish coming into the split, not at not being the bar that we had for them coming into MSI out of split 2, I still think Tarzan leading the jungle is so proactive in the mid-game phase with the Wukong Orianna. They should be able to find really good angles with this. It's going to be a fun push and pull with so much on stake here. Not just the series coming to a close here, but maybe a statement made from Top Esports that, yes, they may not be defending champions anymore, but they might have to be the team more so feared outside of the name Billy Gaming if they can get this sweep done and send AL back under 500 in Group Ascent so far.
Super exciting. I think that both of these teams have got compositions with quite strong identities, as we've been saying. Late game for TES, early game right here for AL. Wombo combo versus some good pick potential and some straight up let's just run at them. It's going to be a really fun matchup to watch. It was fun the first time around, and I do not see it being any less bloody and explosive this time.
It's going to be fun, though, to see this Cho'Gath counter into the Scion. Haven't got to see that too much. Still been asking a lot of questions of Creme and his mage play outside of Azir. Think he was fine in game one, but what a spot here to try and bounce back. I think that one goes to Top Esports fans, Bloxxer.
Yeah,
I think
I agree.
Our guy behind the star of the chance matched the energy this time.
Yeah, that was nice. Need to get them megaphones, you know? They're gonna hurt their voices at some point, but it's always so much fun to hear. It's especially sad, some of those early Group Nevada games where nobody's saying anything. It's just like, oh, okay.
You know, we don't have to think about those anymore because we're here.
That's true. That's true. Much better League of Legends in front of us. Unsealed Spellbook for both of these supports. Nothing too exciting being picked up across the board. I do always like the phase rush here on the Ariana. It just gives you that extra level of survivability that can be really helpful.
Top side starts here for Tarzan and Kanavi. Early skirmishing advantage is going to go over towards Kanavi. Mid lane is going to be kind of null. Can look to bottom lane for any really early action going. But even then, Sivir is kind of just such a neutralizing lane by this point. It's going to be a lot on the junglers to get any early action rolling. And got to highlight that it's mostly Tarzan because Kanavi, even though he's probably the most early game-minded champion, hold on, we are just slugging at bottom lane. They flash on top of Hope to get the knock of the Ignite over onto JackeyLove. The 5th proc of the Kaisa passive does get a ton of damage onto JackeyLove. The heal is going to come out. Kael's a bit too far forward, though, but Hope has the full lethal tempo stacked. Both ADs have lethal tempo fully stacked. And nobody really ends up flashing outside of Hong.
Still, JackeyLove and Hung, they're going to be able to get themselves nice control over this wave, get to level 2 first, which is not usually something you would expect out of an Alistar Sivir lane. They would be getting pushed around in a lot of people's estimations, but you do outrange onto this Kaisa just a little bit, and it can make it quite tricky getting through this level 1 that's always so rough for an Alistar. Going to feel very good for JackeyLove and Hung, and they were key parts of that victory that TES were able to pick up in that first game. Push coming on through. Both junglers will be working their way down towards the bottom side of the map, so you are going to feel pretty empowered to step up here as JackeyLove if you want to keep pressure up.
Seems like what Hong may be about, but that deep ward does give an inkling of an idea that this is a death brush brewing. And Kael and Hope will walk towards their tri-brush. Hope looking for a reset already. I think it's a bit too early for them to be able to swap up topside, so yeah, they're just going to have to work their way back bot, and I say, likely dropping a wave here with the wave clear that JackeyLove brings. Oh, no. All right. Hope is homeless. I don't know where he's going level 2.
I don't know he knows where he's going, you know? You can see him stepping around like, where we heading right now? He's going to go up towards the top side of the map. The lane swaps.
Oh, Tarzan walked right past Kanavi, who went into the river. The Graviton Well not going to be stunned because the Trickster is used very efficiently. But with Kanavi covering, Creme able to hold on to his flash.
Yeah, that is key, right? Losing your flash early on right here as Creme puts you in a real hole. It makes it so uncomfortable. Hang on, Shanks just can walk at him.
Maybe he feels safe with Hong and Kanavi here, but he is way too low. Kanavi, though, with the skirmishing power like we talked about early, is slugging out with Tarzan, but he's buying time for Hope, who we thought was homeless, but maybe found a way to fight his way in here. Tarzan flashes away from Kanavi. One more from Hope. Grabs first blood over to AL. Creme flashes over the red buff pit, and now Hong, flashless himself, is likely to surrender the second kill over to Hope.
There we go. Yeah, we were talking about how it looked real rough for Hope. He didn't really know where to put himself, but getting those 2 kills early is going to be critical. This is a early game composition than TES have, and getting the early kills specifically into the Kaiser is just going to allow you to pressure so effectively. It unlocks this dive composition where you don't have to play backwards as the Kaiser. You can just keep on stepping up.
It's just so funny how things work out sometimes. We thought Hope was in such a terrible spot. He was going to be dropping multiple waves, walking up top, and then comes back down and just gets rewarded with a double kill. And now is 500 gold up over JackeyLove, who booted him out of lane at level 2. The Shanks now, they're going to be the target of a combo here. JackeyLove doesn't have enough damage, though, so Shanks is just going to sit pretty in a 1v2 that I don't really think he signed up for when this draft came through.
Not exactly what you were hoping to have to play around right here. Still, that is part of the point of the Orianna, right? Is just to be able to absorb as much pressure as possible. You've only got a couple of lane matchups that you particularly get killed in, and Creme didn't want to go towards something extra aggressive right here, and so he just has to survive. Hung, just going to use the Hex Flash away. A little bit of extra style points right now. Both junglers are towards the bottom side of the map. We do also have a Hextech Drake as our first Drake. We do get our nice shiny graphics back as well to track those through. Hextech Drake individually, super nice to be able to grab. I would like to see both of these teams put a little bit of extra priority on towards it.
Both junglers on that bot side, but it's actually Tarzan that does need a reset. He hasn't bought anything. Kanavi when becomes lightning, but he sees the pink word. He's going to face check into Kael, who ignites first, then flashes after. The double onslaught is up for Flandre. That ult is clutching, getting Hope his 3rd kill. 3 for 3 from the field, and Feats of Warfare unlocked for AL.
Yeah, Feats entirely picked up by Hope. He is rolling on this one. And I did really like the composition from AL coming in. What I did not expect was the Kaiser to get super far ahead right at the very beginning of the game. They're also now going to be able to press on forwards. Tarzan empowered because of that bot lane pressure to start up this Hextech Drake. Going to be nice and easy to grab this one. Kanavi heads up towards the top side of the map, but there's not really anything he can do. Maybe if you get a real big push going, you can try for a dive onto Flandre as your cross-map play, but I really don't see that one coming to any fruition, yeah.
He's got Flash, and he's Scion, so yeah, that's...
Hope and pray.
The most detrimental factor of it.
Yeah, it would be really, really rough to do, but it just shows there's not really anything on the other side to potentially try to play around Flandre. True, that would help.
Yeah, he's too
but he's dangy, he's Scion. He doesn't have levels. Well, he does have 6. He doesn't have his ulti, though, so that would make it mildly easier. Still, enough time has been bought that now multiple members right here of AL are going to be joining the fight, and 40 seconds now until the grubs are going to spawn. Being able to grab the first Drake and the grubs would be huge here for AL.
Flandre, be careful walking up this far. I'm not going to fall for this again, though. He's too tanky. He is going to get chunked a bit. His TP isn't up just yet for those grubs. The more intriguing matchup is on the bot side because 369 with Flash and Feast up. Well, he doesn't have Feast up just yet. 10 seconds, though. He can, if he gets a Rupture, Hope is dead.
Yes,
Hope,
absolutely.
Hope will die instantly. So he's being really careful.
Fast. Yeah, and this is the thing, right? Like, as much as you have managed to get a good early advantage right here onto your Kaiser, and we'd love to see it, and Hope has been playing pretty well. I think he's been one of the more standout performers in this slightly inconsistent AL team so far. You're still Kaiser, you're still squishy, you still have to play up into a couple of champions that can just rip your head off, right? The Xin Zhao and the Cho'Gath, they get access to you, you will die very, very quickly. Still Hong, he's going to check a bush, he probably shouldn't.
No Unbreakable Will, he doesn't have that ult. Kael had his depth charge, heal, flash, all of it has to go on cooldown to survive, and that should signal the demise of these grubs. Tarzan going to start them up first, and the way Kanavi's pathing, he is going to be surrendering both early neutral objectives.
Absolutely. It's really, really rough to see right at the very beginning of this game. AL, they want to send us to a game number 3, and to be honest, I want that too. TES, what can they do to stem the bleeding and stop this game from getting out of hand? Because they do have a composition that scales really well into the late game. If you can get far enough into this game, your Sivir and your Victor are going to be doing so much damage, but you just need to stop the game accelerating out of control for you.
All right, Tarzan, is sacking 3 grubs to make this play work with a Cyclone and Shockwave. And Hong, without Summers this time, will bite the Pied Piper. Kanavi with the Crescent Guard with the Arcane Storm is going to get Creme his first reset, but he doesn't have enough juice left, and he's going to run out of HP. Down goes Kanavi on the trade. Still really head-scratching that Tarzan wanted that fight so badly that he doesn't get AL 3 grubs for the moment.
Yeah, he's going to have to come back out from the fountain and go and grab it again, which is not ideal. It's not just specifically because, you know, you would like all 3 grubs, but also all of his camps are on the bottom side of the map. He's got no incentive to walk topside right now. He wants to go get Cam's bottom lane, and that's just going to leave this one open. This is going to be especially rough if 369 ends up getting a nom stack off of it as well.
Well, he might get a really big
he might get this nom stack
here, yeah. Flash away from the Rupture comes across for Hope.
Yeah, alright, so it's just going to be the 1 grub still sat there, still remaining. TES will be well aware that it is in the area, that they can go and grab it. They step up. Interestingly, 369, he just wants his stack right now, wants to be getting this one back off of cooldown as quickly as possible. Hope losing that flash could be really important, right? Obviously, Kai'Sa is one of the more mobile ADCs that we have in the game, especially with that ulti available to him now. Still, you do want to have the flash for the reposition. As you've been mentioning, the Rupture is going to be so tricky to try to get away from, in and amongst a big, messy team fight especially.
And before you can get the upgraded E for the invisibility, Kai'Sa's mobility is a bit overstated. Without flash. Yeah. It's really just that killer instinct. And Hope, why are we still here? Maybe not expecting Hong to be hanging around, but he doesn't have flash. He's going to hold on to the killer instinct, use it for the shield dash. Tarzan here to save his AD carry, though. 369 flashes behind Hong. And bot side, we're going to need a replay because Flandre just soloed out JackeyLove.
We're in a situation right there where it looks like Hope should be dead, but instead, JackeyLove is going to be the one to fall. That's still going to open up all 3 of these grubs over to AL, alongside that first Drake that they were able to grab. It's a King's Ransom in a situation in which it felt like it should not have been. As you said, right, without that upgraded E, you don't really get to get that far away. We'll have a look back at what ends up happening. Okay, that's an early spell shield. That was, but...
It's just ult him? Off the slow?
Off
the knock-up? Does he even...
He just walks him
down. All right, there we
go. Ult, barrier, doesn't... Yikes.
That's
with flash as well. That's with flash, but Jackie just doesn't get close enough to be able to actually get away. Getting that kill over. It's going to be the Hollow Radiance picked up for Flandre as well, so he's now in a very strong spot. And yes, as much as the Cho'Gath is a pretty big counter into the Scion itself, everybody's been lane swapping away from it. There's no real way that Flandre has been put under a lot of pressure, and the fact he then gets that solo kill too is going to make this Scion incredibly scary going on forward.
But AL need to keep the pedal to the metal, because a 2K gold lead, if this game continues to shift later and later, is not going to cut it to compete with a Sivir and a Victor. Yes, they are very far away. These champions are not going to be Exodia level until 3-4 items, but TES have been so good in those late game stages that any lead doesn't really feel safe for AL.
Absolutely not, and it's worth mentioning, right, that these champions do still hurt. Even at this point, you can see Creme, his poke is going to be coming through. If he drops the ulti, he can do work in this one.
Gotta respect the Cyclone Shockwave combo from Tarzan and Shanks, who are on the Dragon right now, as Kael is going to flash away from the head of Pulverize. Kanavi's going in with the Crescent Guard, and he's going to steal away the Dragon. Tarzan low, but he sets up the Shockwave. Feast is up for the taking, but 369 not close enough to chop down on it. All Hope is free hitting with the lethal tempo, as JackeyLove and Creme have to bite it back and run for the high hills here. Graviton going to stun up Kael, and Hong able to slip on out, but AL... make sure it's a price to pay for that Dragon steal.
Yeah, you give over the Dragon, not going to be ideal, and Hope did spend the majority of that fight just hitting onto an ultied up Hong, which is why he wasn't going down in that situation. It's part of why AL don't pick up all of the kills they would have otherwise wanted. Still though, you now manage to get a couple of kills onto Shanks, so he's going to be put in a very strong spot, even with that stacking rower. It's going to give him that later game power as well. We'll have a look back at this one, because I was watching the Drake to see who steals this one away. Hong goes in. That's a hook. That's a hook of all time that lands back onto Hong, and yeah, I mean, this is the thing, right? As much as you do have some damage available to you right now as these TES members, it's not as much, right? You need to be landing it onto concentrated members, picture in picture.
Tarzan, engaged upon, turns it like he always does with Kael waiting in the wings. Hope doesn't have that killer instinct to dash across the fight, but isn't needed. Another great bait from Tarzan. He's never truly out of position.
Yeah, not on this Wukong, not when you've got so many dashes and the clone to be able to absorb a lot of the pressure for you. And now with Kanavi going down, you've got yourself the Herald spawning in 30 seconds time. It gives you easy access to the enemy jungle, and a nice reset can come on through as well. First items completed pretty much across the board. The second items are going to be well on the way for a couple of these key carries. Both Shanks and Hope should not be far away from being able to make it to that breakpoint.
This game has been just so clinical from AL right now, trying to make a statement that they are not a team to get pushed over, not a team to be knocked down from a game one exit. Even at 2-2, they have been pretty competitive in the best of 3 scenario set.
Yeah.
It's going to be a turret knockdown here for Shanks, so they're able to claim that one. Didn't even need that for feats of strength, though. That's just how ahead AL is of the 8-ball that is this game 2 right now.
Absolutely, and I mean, as we watch this game through, you've got to keep in mind what it means for the overall standings, what it means for these teams going on forwards. Double round robin between 8 teams means that we've still got plenty of games left to play, but for TES specifically, this is going to be their 7th game of the season so far. They are getting pretty close to getting their way through all of these teams at least once. We're learning a lot about them here. Getting pushed quite hard. Potential dive going through right now. 369, he's got flash coming up in a couple of seconds time. He's about 11 seconds away from that one.
But it's too late because the wave gets in and the knockups sing through. Hope grabs himself another kill. This is what makes AL one of the deadliest teams in the LPL. You give them a lead, they will take every fight, every neutral, really just everything off the map they can.
They're not slowing down at all. They know that this composition works at its absolute peak once you get about 2 items into people. And they're just going to keep on rolling through with this one right here. Like I said, a bit of a weird little couple situation still. TES now going to go for another engage. Kael, he's caught out here.
Flandra's TPing
never mind the TP.
He is very tanky on this Scion by this point. He is pretty comfortable standing up tall to all of them. Creme done well, not going to get a lot of value here. Kanavi is the first one to be turned down by Flandre. Arcane Storm comes out. There's a lot of distance created right now by TS's comp. 369 does hit the rupture onto Kael in the back. He's looking to feast down, and he gets Flandre picked off.
Wow.
Boom! Kael goes down next with a shockwave. Hits 3 from Shanks. Can Flandre get in towards Kanavi's low health bar? No, but Hope can. Killer Instinct across the fight. Does find Kanavi. But TES are still 4 versus 3. Tarzan dipping in and out with that Wukong, using the Trickster well. But neither team looks like they really want to back off from the river just yet. It'll be AL with the inside track towards the mid-tier 1 turret that'll go for it. Creme is going to TP all the way over top to cover for it. And now nobody wants the Herald.
Yeah, this should open up the Herald to be another fight. We can do this all again. Isn't that exciting, Slayer? Yeah, it's a really messy fight right there where it looks like a couple of different people get caught out. I thought that Kael was going to be caught, but the TP stops all of this aggression in its tracks from TS. They no longer can just keep on stepping up. But watch Creme in this fight. He actually plays this one out really well. The Graviton well just gets in between everybody and kind of cuts off a few members from actually being able to step up. And then again, his Arcane Storm being chucked down, it doesn't actually do too much damage for him, but it still just ends up zoning people away, and it's a war of attrition at this point, and the poke's just stronger between JackeyLove and Creme. As this game keeps on going through, that's going to get harder and harder to deal with. A big shockwave is kind of the redeeming quality. It gets Hope that kill with the Killer Instinct, but it doesn't rectify the fact that that fight, despite the fact AL are really far ahead, was not easy for them to play out.
There'll be something to revisit when the next fight breaks out, but I do like TES willing to give away some of these neutrals. Third Drake when it's 1-1, doesn't matter. Mountain Soul, a problem for a future TES. Right now, they just need to take as much standing gold as they can off the map to get to these bigger item breakpoints of their scaling composition. The problem is AL have so many windows to match that. So you drop a tier 1 turret in the top lane with 369, answer by mid-tier 1. Now you're on reset. Hope and Tarzan can go right back towards that Rift Herald that started all the commotion earlier, but this time it's as quiet as a library over there.
Yeah, exactly. This is going to be nice and easy to pick up here for AL. I think it's worth looking at where a lot of these kills have really been going down. Obviously, it's going to be mid lane and bot lane for AL, but the fact that Creme's been able to grab 3 kills and an assist, that's going to do well for him getting towards those little bits of upgrades. He's going to get towards those item breakpoints a lot quicker as well. And that's going to be really, really strong for him, and a big part of helping TES to be able to win. They've got quite a lot of CC, so if you can just chuck that massive Arcane Storm down on top of everyone's heads, that's going to be team fights made a heck of a lot easier.
For a player like Creme, who we were asking really the most of the CS roster, right now, after their last 2 series, he's been shaky to outclass versus Knight. 3-0-1 on the Victor. The Azir was good. He can be... we all know what form Creme can bring here, and if he can do it up against Shanks, up against AL, can really silence a lot of the doubters that have been prevalent, including myself, on even this broadcast, as Flandre has to burn that critical engage ultimate just to create enough space away from all of TES. The Octagon spawning on the bot side, and AL have the inside track towards it.
It's not ideal to not have that ulti. We'll see if it's going to end up costing AL not having that unstoppable onslaught. Still, TES, they are walking into a lot of darkness right now. Really good job from the observers showing that this is an uncomfortable walk in.
Yeah. The Octagon, though, not started. AL, they want to see out how the walk-in comes across here from TES, and it's pretty easy when 369 can lead that charge. Love this Herald pop, though, from Tarzan on the backside. Kael is going to engage right on top of Kanavi. Crescent Guard's going to make sure Hope can't get any damage through, though. Cyclone coming through. Where's the Shockwave? It can't come through because Shanks gets ruptured. They're dumping the damage onto 369, and with Hope, he can churn him through. Knocks down the front line of TES. And now, top esports have to rely on their range once more, but they don't have control of that same jungle. It's so dark, and Kanavi knows that Shanks is just waiting to drop even more damage through.
Yeah, as soon as you don't have 369 available to you, you just cannot keep stepping up. I like that Hope has also immediately bailed out to go and push onto this mid lane. With those 3 grubs in the back pocket as well, this is going to be nice and easily picked up. That's a big injection of gold into AL's pockets. They're now up by 7,000 gold in this game, Slayer. They have a monumental lead.
But still, I feel like
it
these
doesn't
fights
feel like it.
seem
It doesn't
closer.
feel like
yeah,
it.
It doesn't feel that monumentous. It's partly because of how short range this comp is.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see it towards the start of this fight. Like, what can Hope do?
Yeah, watch Creme and JackeyLove specifically in this fight, because Hope isn't able to do anything. Whereas Creme and JackeyLove, they're just constantly throwing down lasers and boomerangs and lasers and boomerangs, and it just keeps on going. And it means that at the end of this fight, yes, 369 dies and they end up losing out onto the fight, but everybody from AL is down below half HP.
Here we go, Bloxxer, though. The Otacon was still up, and they're going to go back to the same plan, which is, hey, Hope does more than enough damage on a 369, and with a double knockup from the Scion, with the Cyclone, 369 can't move. He does a fleeting feast, but Tarzan won't die. Kanavi goes all in, but the Shockwave holds him in place and makes sure they can get Tarzan out. AL's pristine team fighting is back like it never left.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for TES. They just step a little bit too far forwards, and unlike in the previous fight, Flandre did have the ulti available to be able to knock a couple of people back. The Atakan going to go over to AL on top of their 2 Drakes, on top of their 3 Grubs as well. They are in such a strong position in this game. They are looking to send us to a game number 3 and to prove that they belong at the top of the table here in the LPL.
A position AL has won so many games from, even with a lot less here. Dragon going to come up in about 30 seconds. TES really do have to give that as Creme, not expecting Flandre this far up. There's not more support for this trade to be more than anything but a trade.
Yep.
TES here, I think they still just have to turtle pretty hard. Mountain Soul Point, it's a problem for another day. Got a 2.5 item Sivir, soon to be 3 from JackeyLove. Creme, I think will be pretty close to that mark as well. These 2 are just not at the point where they can defy the gold deficit.
No, it feels like they need more time. They need this game to get to 40 minutes, which it's not impossible, but that's still another 17 more minutes into this game. And so far, AL have got complete and utter control of this one. They're going to be able to pick themselves up their third dragon of the game. Soul Point, Mountain Soul Point as well. If you thought this Scion was annoying to try to get through before, having a Mountain Soul on top of him is going to make it that much harder. You've also now hit a couple more key item breakpoints. 2 items completed onto the majority of these carries. 3 items now completed for Hope. If he ever actually is allowed to just sit and hit with that Terminus in inventory, he's going to be doing so much work.
And Hope understood the assignment in this game, and we saw it earlier already with how 369 was, well, his health bar was melted. It's because of how Hope has built this Kai'Sa out. The champion that is known for multitude of build paths, so many items that can be utilized. But I'd like to see this front-to-back style. The Terminus really sings it through, right? You just stack offensive, defensive stats, the more autos you get down.
Yep.
And Hope, I mean, he could get so many into that Cho'Gath.
Yeah.
Unstoppable Onslaught coming out here from Flandre, trying to go after Creme. Does a passes his driving test pretty well. Yep. But Creme and Hong were in position to get out, but the Void Seeker does hit onto Creme, and Hope immediately pulls the Killer Instinct to go after him. The Graviton Well, Arcade Storm, not enough, because AL had a bead on this bottom lane as all 5 members show out and knock down Creme.
And this is what we've been talking about, right? Creme has not been having the best time of it on a ton of these other carries. Yes, he's looked really good on 1 or 2 things. His Akali's been nice. He's looked pretty good on the Annie. But then beyond that, it's been rough. It's been worrisome out there. He's been not having such a good time of it. And there, he just immediately gets caught out. And this is why I love the Terminus, as you were calling out, right? Getting you that little bit of extra survivability means you're so happy to just go flying on into the backline there. You don't have to worry about potentially getting turned and bursted down. Creme just doesn't have that sort of damage.
Hong, Unbreakable Will. Killer Instinct not up for Hope, but the Shockwave is there for Shanks, and the ult runs out, and that means Shanks does a lot more damage with those autos. Hong goes down, and Tarzan still looking hungry for more. Eyeing a flank angle, but with AL as ahead as they are, they could just rip Baron, and Tarzan will do that. He's going to give away this flank, try and keep the vision up. You can see how dark the pit is for Kanavi, and they're just going to jump onto Kael, but Flandre's going to flash over the wall. Tarzan can follow the Trickster pretty shortly. The TP into the pit for 369 is a bit audacious. He gets the knock up onto Tarzan, but again, look at Hope just to lead the health bar. Yeah, sure, feast on our support. It doesn't matter. He's willing to sacrifice himself because you've gotten rid of all your front line, and that means Hope gets to break the door down, flying after your carries. AL clinical, looking to force this series the distance.
Hong going to be the only member still alive, and that's because he was dead when it started. It's going to be the Baron picked up here for AL. They only need 1 more Drake to get that soul as well, but I don't even know if they're going to need it. 2 minutes until that's up, and with the Baron empowered minions, they can look to crack open these towers. They've still got outer towers in the top and the bottom side to go for. Hong also just going to die. That's going to be the ace coming through as well.
He had Smite. I respect the hustle. He's like, all right,
it's worth
maybe there's
try,
a chance.
Right?
Yeah.
I've seen crazier things, I have, but not in this game. Not when AL have put themselves into such a massive advantage. And you were right to point out earlier on that it didn't feel like it was a 7k gold lead. Well, this fight, this felt like the 10k gold lead that we do have on our screens right now. Kanavi, the second that the Crescent Guard falls off, there's nothing he can do. And despite the fact that JackeyLove and Creme are just sat there trying to pump out the damage with no front line, there's absolutely nothing you can do. And I love the aggression from Hope once again. Hey, I can get into the back line right here. Goes flying on in. This team, when you give them the sort of composition that can play early game, they are just running through you. I mean, right now, with 2 carries on 5-0 and a bunch, this is insane.
Here comes the big bus. Flandre just here to protect Shanks so they can usher the wave back in. Tarzan is a bit picked off here. The Graviton Well stun will layer, but he pops the Cyclo as Kanavi dives in. Shanks flash back over the wall. Kanavi will flash after him, but even if you find this kill onto Shanks, everybody else is dead. He doesn't even get that. Hope with an instant triple kill. JackeyLove cowering back towards his fountain, but this should be the final push. A devious response out of anyone's legend to force this series to Game 3.
And this is what we wanted when we came into today, right? The Group Nirvana game was a warm-up for AL, TES, these 2 teams who are fighting for the top of the table, who want a chance at winning it all and sending themselves to Worlds. Hope.
Oh, Hope, they're already dead, man. Just doing laps around this team right now. And hey, why not another dredge line? Why not another kill? 27 in 28 minutes in the win for AL.
So, Slayer, do you think the 14-0-7 Kaiser might win the player of the game vote?
What do they do?
Kids.
Does like an LPL stage Kaisa get like shorter cooldowns, or like does he get his damage stats buffed? Like,
clearly,
I'm not mad about it. By the way, Kaisa's so fun to cast.
I love it.
But there's got to be a conspiracy theory behind this at this point.
This champion is so good, and Hope in this game was just able to pilot it to perfection, was just completely taking over the entire game. And of course, it stems from it going well at the very beginning stages. He gets 2 kills right off the bat, manages to grab a 3rd within the next couple of minutes, and now you've got 3-0 Kais that you have to deal with. When we were setting up for these team compositions, we said the AL needed the game to start quickly, and they needed to get kills onto their key carries, and Top, they wanted a 40-minute chill game where they could get their carries going. Well, we definitely got one of those things, and it did not work out for Top Esports.
No, it didn't. I can respect the try, but it might have worked against teams that are a little more skittish, a little less confident. It doesn't work against AL. If you're gonna index this hard into scaling, you're just letting the devil in the jungle, Tarzan, just smile and run through these lanes. So we came into this game specifically, Bloxxer, trying to take a temperature gauge of AL. It's like, all right, we've made enough excuses about them. They really got to start putting together series wins, competing against teams that they were fighting against all of Split 2. At least we now know that you can't just try and snooze the first 25 minutes against AL, even if they are a bit more sluggish after the international break.
Yeah, exactly. If you find yourself in a toe-to-toe matchup with them, it looks like it goes 50-50, but if you let them take a little bit at the beginning of the game, they don't seem like they're in a throwing mood. We've got plenty of teams here in both Group Ascent and Group Nirvana that are happy to throw away big leads early on and play things a little bit silly. In this game, maybe they had maybe 2 moments where somebody stepped a little bit too far forwards, but oftentimes it felt like it was a bait because the response from AL was so quick. Their map macro is so snappy that even if you do think you found yourself a pick, there are many more members of anyone's legend on their way to you right now.
What a nice easing curve. We've got a little too jagged with a lot of our gold graphs today. It's just nice little climb up to 16,000 gold lead, by the way.
Yeah, huge gold lead in the end. Jackie is just not able to step up for his team in anywhere near the same way that Hope is, but it's just everybody right here. I was incredibly impressed with the way that Tarzan and Kael and Flandre were able to start these fights off for the team and buy space for Hope to be able to do his thing.
And it was a while ago, but it's so funny to think how this game started with Hope getting knocked out of bottom lane, begging for someone to swap him into a lane where he can farm, and then it's like, oh yeah, Tarzan's like, pull up to this jungle fight, man. I'm gonna give you some kills, and never looked back from there.
Never looked back, and this is exactly what you want from Hope. Hope has been, I think, a bit of a bright spark here for anyone's legend in, as we've been saying, a bit of a rough start to them for this split number 3. But he has been really nice and has really paid it off in this game. Was able to just completely take over, and it felt like, conversely, Creme and JackeyLove were just never able to get their stuff going in this game. It's tough, of course, when you get yourself a composition that really needs to wait until the late stages of the game, but that's the part of the problem, right? When you draft yourself a composition that has a bunch of late game threats, you need to have something that can pull you through the early game, and none of these lanes were particularly lanes that you could try to play around.
Or you just accept that, like, you're not going to get first Drake and not fight over that. Or accept that unless we're in great position, we're not going to really get Rift Herald in grubs. It's a hard pill to swallow, and mainly because it doesn't ever really work out. Like you're pointing out, you just can't play that slow. But it would have been nicer to see TES, stick to that really snail-paced identity instead of force fights where their comp just isn't designed to ever succeed.
Yeah, there were a couple moments where you begin to get 2 items onto TES that they were playing and it worked and it looked good, but they'd already put themselves into a 7,000 gold deficit at this point in the game, which is really, really tough to try to climb your way back on out of. And I mean, I'm looking back through this time and time again. every single time I'm watching a nom come on through, it's onto the support or it's onto the top lane. And
Yep.
you're never actually managing to land that onto one of these key carries right here. And you just can't afford to be doing that as 369. He definitely didn't have one of his best games here.
It was just really hard. Yeah, really hard to stop AL once they were so far ahead. But yeah, the Cho'Gath doesn't really end up performing. I just feel like this is just a team gap with how slow Top Esports want to play the draft. Hopefully it doesn't affect them going into Game 2 because TES, even in their Game 1 win, we talked about it, AL were in front for a lot of it. This game, TES, you saw the goal graph. I don't really need to tell you guys. Never, ever ahead.
No, it was super back and forth for TES to be able to win and very easy looking for AL. But that composition pretty specific. That's a lot of your dive tools, dive pieces taken off of the board now. So can AL do it on a composition that potentially has to play a little bit slower, that can't just try to find themselves a big gold lead and never look back?
I'm excited to see how creative the jungle pool gets now because we get rid of Wukong. We get like four of the big bads, right? Pantheon, Wukong, Xin Zhao. It's Skarner, I guess, for Kanavi. We can get this out of the way. Yeah, I mean, hope. There was no thought in the world. I really hope this is unanimous. MVP given over to Hope.
Yeah,
that
he
is
was incredible.
LPL Kaisa, everybody. It never stops. It never disappoints.
No, absolutely not. Especially not when Hope's able to pilot it. This player has been so strong on these aggressive pickups, and I think the Kai'Sa fits him incredibly well. It would be exciting to see what he gets in the next game. Is he going to have to play something super late game scaling again? As we've been saying, right, that hasn't necessarily been his thing. He's not looked super good on the Jhin either, hoping that we don't see that one.
Yeah, so we'll see where Hope and the rest of AL decide to go with their Game 3 draft, but it is fitting that we have gone the distance here. Now, officially 6 games locked in for the LPL day, and we wouldn't have it any other way here on the LPL English broadcast. Split 1 champions, Top Esports, currently atop Group Ascend. Split 2, Anyone's Legend, looking to get back to winning ways. One of these two squads is going to win today, and we'll find all that out and more on the other side.